In our text this week, the Apostle John writes that Jesus had to go through Samaria. Whenever I read that, it just always kind of baffles me, because that word had has this note of necessity, that it was something that was forced upon him. And I always wonder, what did Jesus really have to do? Did he seriously have to go through Samaria? I mean, was it like you have to do your chores before you can go out and play? You have to finish your homework before you can go to the movies? Did Jesus have to go through Samaria? I mean, if you know much about the Gospels, if you know much about the culture of the time, the Jews didn't have to go through Samaria. If they wanted to go from Jerusalem to the northern reaches of Galilee, most of them would cross over the Jordan, go up through this other territory, and cross back over once they got north of Samaria. They avoided Samaria at all costs. That's how great the tensions were between the Jews and the Samaritans. They would rather run into some other Gentile, some other Roman type person, rather than the Samaritans, who were kind of like kissing cousins to the Jews. And it gets me to wonder, what are those things maybe in our life that we really feel like we have to do? I mean, have you ever been in a situation where you just knew you had to do something? I mean, you weren't commanded, you weren't being forced, but there was this pit in your stomach kind of feeling that if you missed this opportunity, you'd be doing something wrong. Not necessarily something that would benefit you. Most of these times, it's something that would help benefit someone else. Have you passed someone and thought, man, I need to assist them? Have you ever been in a situation where you hear someone and you go, I need to react, I need to respond, I need to give aid or assistance to this person because of something that's traumatic that's happening to them? There was a time where I was delivering pizzas. And when we were living in Charlotte, and I came to this one house, I delivered their pizza, and they paid me in cash for their meal. When I got back to the car, I was finishing counting the money, getting all my stuff straight, and I noticed in their payment was a $10 bill. It was unlike the other ones. All the other ones were nice and flat, maybe even had the presents all lined up in a row. But this one was folded weird. It was kind of like it was accidentally in there. It wasn't supposed to be there. And at the time, we could have really used the extra money. And I sat there in my car and I looked and I saw that, and I'm like, I could take it and no one would be the wiser. But I knew in the pit of my stomach that $10 was probably not meant for me. And so I got back out of my car and knocked on the door again, and the man came back to the door, and I said, I found this extra $10 in your payment. Was this meant, did you mean to give this to me? He's like, I'm sorry, I wasn't. I handed it back to the man and I went on my way. I knew that it could benefit me, but at the same time I knew in my heart that would have been stealing, that money was not intended for me. Have you ever felt like you've had to do something? Now, here in Maryland, we were able to avoid any major snows this year, but I kind of always look forward to kind of a more significant snow. There are some neighbors around us who are a little bit older, and on those days, I enjoy getting out my snowblower and going to their house and clearing their driveway and clearing their walk so that they don't have to get out and do that. That when they get back from wherever, maybe they get back from their job that day, or they get back from a trip to a store, wherever they're out and about, that they come back and their driveway is clear. Or if they are at home and will need to get out, that they don't have to clear the driveway to leave on that day, that all of a sudden when they go out to leave, all they have to do is just back out of the drive and go on their way. Have you ever felt like you've had to do something? Maybe this week, as you begin to go through your day, as you begin to go through the week, as you begin to try to live out this principle in your life, maybe this week we need to be a little more in tune with the Spirit. What is God showing us? What is God saying to us? Can we live our lives with our eyes just a little bit more wide open to see the things that are around us, that we might be able to zoom in on a certain situation. We might be able to zoom in on someone's life, and we might be able to zoom in into an opportunity that we can share and show God's love to someone in need. That we could have our ears open to not just the words that people are saying, but to the things that they aren't saying. What is it underneath what they're saying that might show what their heart really needs? There's something in their words. There's something in their mannerisms that's saying something isn't. So I'm putting on just kind of maybe a show on the surface, but deep down underneath, there's some turmoil, there's some hurt, there's some aches, there's some pains, there's some need that maybe we can speak into. Maybe we can offer a helping hand. See, Jesus had to go through Samaria, not because it was the best way, not because it was the most convenient way, but because he had a specific place to be, a certain appointment, a certain conversation with a certain woman at a certain well. And in that moment, he heard the things that she wasn't saying and unlocked in her a love for God, a connection to his Father. And she found the living water that Jesus gives all of us, that wells up into eternal life. And she began to share that with others. Maybe that person we get the opportunity to help this week becomes someone who then gets to tell a whole group of people we would never have access to about the love of Jesus, and they too might come to know him. This week, live life with eyes wide open. May your ears be in tune to hear what the Spirit is calling us to do, that we might serve Jesus in our time, in our place. And by doing so, we might help reach one person at a time.